I'm sorry, I'm just a dumb American who has British and tea just drilled into me as something that's synonymous.
I don't know how, because it's not like tea was invented here. It was the Chinese that made tea.
Hey,
yeah,
whoa.
but the thing is that the whole Boston Tea Harbor thing, and like that gets taught to you as a
Tea
kid,
Harbor.
so that.
Do you not know about
Jesus
the
Christ.
Boston Harbor?
No.
They dumped a bunch of tea in the Boston Harbor as a fuck you to the British
Ah.
during
which was,
a lead up to the
nice.
Civil War.
Yeah, it was a lead up to the Revolutionary War.
Yeah.
Ah. I was dead chuffed with the ending. I was proud. I felt like I was like Leonardo
That
da
was
Vinci
good. That was very good.
Putting up my prized easel into
I was a little uncomfortable
into
at the
an
beginning.
arc
I'm like, this is gonna make me sound like
just-
some anti-Chinese racist asshole.
I just love that the ending was like Kath saying "fuck you" and then maybe like, oh, where is Mellow actually? Epstein's
What?
Island. Actually, you know what?
That wasn't even the ending.
Wasn't it? That
No.
I mean,
Did you watch the last 10 seconds?
No, I
Oh
watched
my
that
God.
part.
You
I
need
watched like
to.
the last 4
You
minutes of
missed
it
the
because
best
that was
part.
the funniest part.
You did.
Alright, hold up.
Getting a live reaction.
It's
now.
annoying. I can't type in
Literally just the
Sentinels
last
podcast.
15 seconds. Last 15 seconds.
Yeah, no,
Mel, the only way to make
I
that better was to put dubstep behind it.
Oh,
Or to
yeah.
turn it into dubstep.
I don't know, that might have been a bit too far.
Alright.
A bit like too much.
Alright,
I think
Oh no! I skipped too far forward and it fucking played the next episode.
which is the older episode, which is like what, episode 8 or
yeah.
something. That would have been the live, was it?
Yeah. Alright, let me listen to this. I'm 1 hour, 9 minutes and 26 seconds. Is that far enough forward?
I assume so, yeah.
Alright. It's a Patreon, thank you.
Okay, yeah.
How dare you? What the fuck was I enjoyed Feel Free to Suck My Nuts, but then me getting fucking friendly fired?
Yeah, I was going
This is
through
why
it,
they-
and then I just heard you. I can't remember what context of the pod you were saying that in, but then I came across that, and I'm like, wait, I had to replay it. I'm like, what the fuck was that in response to? So I just snipped it. I'm like, I'm going to use that later.
Probably just me replying to something that SVD said.
Yeah, I think your brain just buffered on something.
I mean, point at an episode where it hasn't, to be fair.
Okay, are we ready for a clap?
Give me a second so I can turn off noise suppression.
Right.
I'm ready for a clap.
I also like that at the beginning you left the clap in. I think it was my one that clapped, and I said something like, I said something stupid, and you left all that in. I was like, God fucking damn it.
Well, I ended up on the last one because Kath's Audacity failed. I ended up basically just taking everything from you, Ratchet, because I realised that because Kath's didn't record, I had to then use one of your two's OBS recording for his audio as the backup.
Yeah.
And I didn't want, because if I trimmed around Kath and cut out SVDs, that would have just added 6-7 hours of more work on top of the edit, and I'm not prepared to do that. I struggle to work around these timings anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, clap. Right, I need to readjust my chair level. Okay. I actually, when I was away last week, I can't remember if I told you to, but I cracked my my tailbone when I was away, so it is currently quite painful to sit down.
What extreme
So,
activities were you up
You
during
literally
the
have a
holiday?
pain in your ass.
Yeah, and it's not Ratchet this time. Oh,
I was going to say it's not SVD. I was literally going to make the same joke.
but it's you on the receiving end, so it's funnier.
What extreme sports were you participating in that caused you to crack your tailbone?
I was at a water park last weekend, doing a double date and went on the slides, and I attempted to propel myself forward, but gravity kicked in a bit quicker than I expected it to. And instead of landing in the water zone, I landed on, the thing that kind of is meant to divide your legs? No? when you're sat down...
I can't.
When you're sat down at a water park and you put your arse on this, hard plastic bit, which, divides the start of the slide to the water.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I landed on top of that.
Oh, okay.
Wasn't fun.
It's been a long time. The only real water park we have where I live is a wakeboarding park where it pulls you around on a bit of string and you ride a wakeboard.
That sounds shit.
It's actually fun as fuck, dude. It's like surfing, but you get pulled along by a little fucking pulley machine above you, so you get to do jumps and shit.
Oh, is it like Homer in The Simpsons when he's on the sea and he's going over that shark?
No, so it's not. That's and that's kite surfing. I can't remember what that is, but no, this is you actually have a small little surf. It looks like a skateboard underneath you, and then you're holding onto a rope, and it's dragging you along a course, and you can just go whichever way you want, and just go up ramps and shit, and do little jumps and stuff. I'll see if I can find an image of it.
Oh,
it's like a skateboard or a skate park with a flooded skate park is what it is essentially. Here you go. I have one from the Florida Keys.
Oh damn! Thank you so much. Oh, actually, I don't. I'll need to get it up on my phone because otherwise I'm going to screw up the OBS recording.
Oh yeah, true.
Like you did last week, and I had to edit around it so much.
My video recording wasn't actually meant to be used as a video recording.
Fair,
it was just there as a reference.
That's fair.
Which is why I was messaging my friends and shit. I'm I hope you didn't include any of those actual messages.
No, I didn't. Don't worry.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think I missed one moment at the beginning where you were switching your audio device or something, and it happened that quick at the beginning. I didn't even notice it, and then I watched it after it had been published to YouTube. But no, everything else I masked over with just a picture of a still image of you three in the call. Yeah. Oh yeah, that does actually look quite fun.
Yeah, it is pretty fun. I was gonna say because I messaged my friend. I don't know what I was messaging him. He has said some horrendous shit to me, so it could be pretty bad. I mean, what I said to him wouldn't have been.
No. Well, in full honesty, what you were talking about, because you recorded your screen, I got to see your whole message chain. No, it wasn't anything bad.
What was it? What were we talking? Do you remember?
No, it was it was some film or TV show you were talking about, and that was it. It was quite a boring conversation, actually.
Yeah, it was probably us chatting about Ghosts, because we watch Ghosts every week. The American version, not the British version. But I also watch the British version. I'm trying to find where the chat is with him, because I could just see what I sent to him.
I'm going to do the introduction while you do that.
Yeah, go nuts.
Okay, hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to your favourite podcast in the whole world, the Steam Sentinels podcast, episode 10. I am your host, Mellow on line 1, and I am joined by SVD. How are we today, SVD?
We're doing okay.
Just okay?
Just okay.
Just okay. What's stopping you from being amazing or fantastic?
Taxes. The extra hours of sleep.
The extra hours of sleep?
It would be nice to have a few extra hours.
Oh, it'd be nice to have a few extra hours of sleep, okay. What's stopping you sleeping? Anything in particular? Is it because you're just so excited to get to the next episode of this podcast that you're oh, I'm so excited, can't wait?
Ah, you found me out.
I'm also joined by Ratchet. How are you today, Ratchet?
I'm good. I haven't slept since last night because I ruined my sleeping schedule, but I'm doing pretty good today.
Isn't that...
I've had my energy drink.
I was going to say, is that not normal? Like, the last time you slept was last night?
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. I didn't sleep last night. I tried to get to sleep last night, but I didn't. Yeah, so I'm just surviving on energy drinks, so I'm going to be the same as you. It's going to go downhill over the next 2 hours. But it's good so far. I've had a good week. I've had some things happen that I didn't think were going to happen that I'm very happy and excited about. Like, I can't share because they're personal, but if what I'm hoping happens, then you'll hear about it when it happens. I'm not deliberately trying to be cryptic. I'm just trying to keep some form of privacy.
What is privacy? Well, I say that I'm the only one out of you three that's never revealed their face. We have a few topics to discuss today. We will be having our comment comeback section, but we're going to be doing that a bit later in the podcast because it does tie into one of our major topics we're going to be discussing today. We'll be going over what we have been playing very, very shortly. We've also got a discussion about the indie horror game Horses being banned from Steam and Epic and temporarily Humble Bundle, but Humble Bundle have since reinstated the game on their service. We're going to be discussing about that, any potential censorship that happened with the game as a result, and just how the game's release has landed. We've then also got a bit of a broader discussion about a couple of topics related to AI use in video games, both regarding Postal and Running with Scissors and their recent cancellation of their upcoming Postal game. And we're also going to be discussing a hot take from Epic CEO Tim Sweeney about Valve and Steam's AI disclosure section that they've got on Steam. All of this for you and more on your favourite podcast of all time, Steam Sentinels podcast. But before we get into all of that, Ratchet, what have you been playing this week?
I had to look it up on Steam. I've been playing... Actually, I don't have to look it up on Steam. I've been playing a lot of Cybperunk, which ties into what I was saying before. But yeah, I've gotten back into Cybperunk again for my like 5th or 6th playthrough because this game is fantastic. And then after I finish it, I plan on watching Edge Runners again because it is a fantastic show.
What's Edge Runners again? Remind me.
Edge Runners is it's another story based in the same universe as 2077. It follows I haven't watched it in a couple of years. I think his name's David Martinez. Essentially, it follows a few characters that after the show came out, it did so well that when they were updating the game, they put references to the characters in the game, including some of their like gear. So you get to wear like their clothes and shit like that. But yeah, it's worth watching. If you played Cyberpunk, it's worth watching. If you haven't played Cyberpunk, it's still worth watching, and that's worth buying and playing Cyberpunk afterwards because they're not closely tied together, but they both tell fantastic stories.
Neat. I've been meaning to pick up Cyberpunk because obviously I think it ticks all the boxes of a game I would enjoy, but yeah. I've just never... it's never been at a good enough discount for me that I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to go pick it up. And then I keep thinking to myself, I've just got loads of RPGs that I've just never finished. And I feel like I should get round to them first before I add another to the pile. But that's just how the Steam sales work and how they just keep on making you buy games that you never end up playing.
Yeah. Well, Ultimate Edition is half price at the moment, and I fully think that's worth it. But, yeah, it's an interesting game. There's a lot that goes on that I could talk about, but I won't because we'll be here forever. But, it's well worth it. Even a half price, it's a fantastic game, and the DLC is fantastic.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the store page here. Yeah, 65% off for the base game and 53% off the Ultimate Edition. Yeah. Okay, I am tempted. Yeah. You've tempted me. No, Mellow, finish your current RPGs first.
That's what I was going to say. Cyberpunk is there's a lot of RPGs I played I just don't finish because I kind of get bored of them, like the Oblivion remaster. It's just like, yeah, it's the same shit with a bit of polish, and it runs like arse now.
Do we want to talk about your relationship with Persona?
We can talk about my relationship with specifically Persona 4, because it's not as if I played any other games, so I don't really have a comment. I don't really have an opinion about any other ones. But my point is basically, I have finished Cyberpunk multiple times. It's one of the RPGs I really enjoy playing, and a lot of it is based around just like stumbling into side quests. Because it's just like, oh, what's happening over here? Oh, they're murdering a guy. And then the game's just like, oh yeah, you can stop that, by the way. And it's like, alright, I'll go stop it then, I suppose. And it's like, cool, now you're on a side mission. You're like, I didn't mean to get into this. I don't want to be a part of this. Let me out of here. But feel free to scrutinize my valid opinion about Persona 4's intro that requires a skip button.
Thing is, I don't even disagree with you on that. And I think if we get into that, then we would have an episode in and of itself.
Yeah.
I don't even disagree with it. I love the game, but yeah, I agree. The introduction is a slog.
It's like, I've seen it once. I don't mind when games are like, yes, you like when games are acknowledge you've seen this before, so just hit escape to continue. But I'm like, I've seen this before because I played it on the PS2. I don't want to do this again. Skip to just being in the dungeon crawler section of the game. Like, I know what happens with the TVs. I know what happens with the tutorial. I know what happens with the weird town and the school. I don't want to watch it again. And I love Metal Gear 5. Same thing for Metal Gear 5, though. Okay, it's cool. The first time, David Bowie, the hospital scene, awesome. Second time through, it's torture to watch, to make me go through this again. It's like literally 90 minutes of just like, hey, 80s music. And also, there's a horse, and you get rescued, and I hope you played Ground Zeroes, because if you didn't play Ground Zeroes, none of this makes sense. It's like, thanks.
Basically, Ratchet's got a poor attention span.
Well, yeah, I have an inability. I have an inability to watch shit 3-4 times without getting annoyed. But yes, it is heavily related to my attention span. The fact that I have ADHD.
Oh, now I just feel bad.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to swiftly move past you now.
You bullied a disabled kid.
I'm also joined by SVD. SVD, what have you been playing this week?
So I started playing Terraria modded. So that's been kind of fun. And I actually started playing Destroy All Humans.
Oh, the PS2 alien shooter game.
Yes, I've never actually played it before. I've seen other people like play it, like when back in the days when I was playing like Halo or when I was on like Halo 2 or Halo 3, and it would show you what other people were playing on your friends list as his status. I would see that. So I actually started playing that. It's interesting. You can definitely tell, like, in terms of the gameplay stuff, it's a product of its time, even with it being a remaster. Still neat, though. And it's what I would call in my opinion, a mid-shelf title. In terms of, the scope is lower. It's not as, like, vast as, like a lot of AAA games, but that doesn't mean it's not bad. And I think my experience so far, solid 7 out of 10 so far with that. And then I am resuming Vampire Survivors. I had fucked around with some of the stat values for a few of the characters and made them so broken that, like, if they picked up power-ups, it was gonna make the game essentially unplayable. So the only way I to get past that was I decided to just clear everything and start over, which I didn't have a problem with because the game is pretty fun and addicting, even if it will take a while to catch back up to where I was and then catch up to the new content. But I enjoy it enough, even if Ratchet rolls his eyes with every time that there's an announcement of a game that's blah 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 Survivors. Like, what was it? Deep Rock Survivors and what was it? Moonstone Survivors or Harvest, whatever, something like that. Hey, maybe we'll get Pal World Survivors.
We are. I'm not the only one who said that, to be fair. The entire the entire as much as I know that we individually, not as a collective, but us three individually don't like the Steam subreddit. People on the Steam subreddit were clowning Steam Direct because Steam Direct had like 40 or 50 fucking Vampire Survivor ripoffs. So it's a phenomenon. Is it Direct? Whatever the demo thing
Next
is.
Fest or
Next Fest, that's the one.
Yeah.
Next Fest. Yes, that's what I meant. Yeah. People were making fun of Next Fest because it was all Vampire Survivors clones, and it's like, of course it is, because it's either going to be Vampire Survivors clones or it's going to be fucking Lethal Company clones, because for some reason indie developers have to chase a trend rather than just doing their own thing half the time. Just not calling out all indie developers, just the ones who copy paste the current thing.
Well, there's a chance that when they copy something that they do it differently enough that it sets it apart from essentially what it's copying. I mean, well, I'm actually going through my wish list right now to find the essentially the Factorio clone that you showed me
The one I
day.
linked you. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember the name of it.
Just have a look at
Because
that
it was like about
messages.
sub-levels and whatnot, because that was essentially one of the features for it.
It's called Substructure,
Thank you.
which I didn't call it a clone, by the way. That was people in the community. The comment you linked me where someone said you're just copying Factorio, lol. It's fine to love a game and enjoy its genre, but I don't see anything novel or interesting here in your game. Which, yeah, it also leans into the other topic, to steal from Mellow real quick while he's not listening.
Excuse me, I am listening.
No, you're not. You're not even here. The topic of that Postal video game was also another fucking Vampire Survivors copy paste.
Oh, is that what that was supposed to be?
Yep. What is it? A bullet heaven? A rogue like?
Yeah.
A reverse bullet hell.
Yeah. Essentially just a reverse. But yeah, a reverse bullet hell / roguelite. Sorry.
Or bullet heaven.
Yeah. That's why I said initially. But yes, that's what that was meant to be. And it's kind of funny that it's been cancelled and all the other things that have happened that we'll talk about when we talk about that.
I was going to move on to the next topic, but I forgot I've not actually said what I've been playing. Most of the stuff I've been playing this week has been on stream, actually, because we wound down the charity drive this past week. Hit our target, get in. I played some oldie kind of games. What are you laughing at?
You hit our target, get in.
Well, yeah, get in. We got the target. It's worthy of celebration.
Oh, you don't need to explain yourself to me. It was just, it's so funny because it's so out of character. It's so out of character
really?
for what we
Is
usually
it
do here.
really?
Yes. Get in is definitely out of character for what if I pointed you at somebody who only listens to this podcast and you said get in at them, I feel like they'd be like, this is not the same guy, right? It's like saying fucking belter. Like, you.
I say belter as well.
I know you say belter.
Belter.
Anyway, continue. Yeah, I know you guys missed the T in that. Belter.
Belter.
It's a fucking belter.
I played Pokemon Emerald. It crashed on the stream and then I accidentally quit out and didn't save, and then I've been replaying it again outside of streaming it, and it's fun. I'm enjoying it. Owned it, never played it before. I did it on a live stream and I'm really into it now. I might, if I have some time after today, I might go and play it some more. And I also played Dr. Jekyll Mr Hyde for the NES from 1988. And I beat it. Get in. It was hellish. I think it took me like 4 hours, just under 4 hours to beat it, and I've never beaten the game before. That last level, I mean, I'll leave a link to the live stream in the description as well. I'll need to make a note that I've said that actually while I move on. I'll make sure there's a link in the description if anyone wants to check it out. But yeah, I pretty much got to the final level in about 1 hour, and I spent 3 hours being stuck on the last level because it was just so difficult and so hard. But Dark Lord Jada was in the chat and he was kind of guiding me through some things which helped me ultimately get to the end, which I appreciate because I don't think I would have done it without him.
You've also missed one of, I'd argue, probably one of the most well-made, small-scoped indie games of this year.
But that was 2 weeks ago. That was on my first week. But you can mention it now.
Yeah, but you were gone last week, so yeah. So Mellow played on stream, and then I ended up buying because I enjoyed watching it, but I was frustrated at watching him do what he was doing when I wanted to. I was like, I want to go do this instead. Yeah, like, I don't trust that guy. I'd shoot him. Mellow's like, nah, pretty sure he's human. Somebody died. No, it smells like somebody died last night. And I was like, I fucking knew it! No, I'm not a human. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Fantastic little game, and from a developer perspective, they very clearly had an idea and they scoped it down to a level where they could make it in like 3 to 6 months. And I appreciate that about it because it tells a nice little contained story with like, it's got like 8 different or 10 different endings.
There's going to be more added. They've announced an update. There's 2 more characters and I think 1 or 2 more endings coming.
Yeah. And so it's such a neat little contained experience. So, like, you finish it and you're like, what? You do one run through and it's like, yeah, you died because you did something stupid. And you're like, all right, well, I'll go back and what I'll do is I'll buy more of the kombucha, and then that way I can save, and then I got to buy more cat food because then there's the cat that helps the cat that saves me over the nights and it's like, it's so good because it's such a basic concept wrapped so well. I love it. I like indie games like that where it's just like, yeah, it's $10 on Steam. By the way, it's all of this stuff wrapped into a small, well-designed package. That's what Vampire Survivors was for me initially. It's like, oh, this is really fun. And then all of the other shit came out and it's like, well, it was good while it lasted.
Yeah, I've been playing it a lot recently. I don't think I've played it. I played it once since the stream. I didn't get to another ending though. But yeah, I've been meaning to go back to it and try and explore the other endings because I think neither. Hold on, what ending did I get? I got I've gotten 3 endings so far. I got the joint femur. I got I got shot by that wacko guy that comes to your door.
Yeah.
And what was the one I got on stream? I think you were there for that.
Yeah, it was the mushroom ending.
I don't think so, because I plucked the mushroom too early, didn't I?
No, it turns out you pluck the mushroom, you eat it, then he shows up a couple days later. So, yeah, I thought there was a whole thing around that, and then
No, sorry, yeah. Yeah, I didn't even get that ending. I got the ending where I had no one in my house, and the visitor just turned up and killed me.
I love that he opens the door. The first time I played the game, he was like, is anyone here? And I was like, I had a hunter, a guy who was like, I'm hunting those things. I'm hunting them, so, just stick with me. And I was like, all right, sick. And the visitor was like, is there anyone in the house? And I was like, no, come inside. I have a hunter in here. You're going to get fucked up, man. He came inside and killed me instantly. There was just like no design around having the hunter come out and fucking shoot him, which is fair, right? It's what I was saying with like keeping it small scope. But I was just like, my first thought was, yeah, I've got somebody with me who talks about how they are going to kill visitors. So good luck coming into my house. And he came in and rolled me up into a fucking ball and threw me into the sun. I was like, well, that was an ending.
He threw you into the sun. I've never seen that ending.
No, he doesn't actually.
Oh, right, okay. I thought that was an ending that I'm like, I want to get that ending now.
No, all I can imagine is just him kicking that door down, and then he grabs you by the head, picks you up in the air, grabs you by your feet, scrunches you up like a piece of paper, and then just hurls you into the stratosphere like Team Rocket out of the Pokemon TV show.
And
that's all I can imagine.
You've also got Pokemon in your mind thanks to my stream. You should just tune in more, and then you're going to get loads of like gaming hits that you'll be exploring again.
Yeah, thank you very much. I had to walk for an hour and a half on the treadmill the other day because I wasn't going to the Gaim as much. So I went to the Gaim and I installed a thing called Lemuroid on my phone, and I played Pokemon Sapphire on my mobile phone for an hour and a half while I walked on the treadmill. So I was literally standing there. I was like, this is so boring. All I'm doing is listening to music. I need something else. And I was like, oh yeah, right. Not Lemuroid. I was like, I want a Game Boy emulator, and I looked it up, and all of them were like covered in ads. And then I found one on F-Droid, which F-Droid is like a Google Play alternative that's like mainly free and open source apps, so they usually don't have ads in them. So I was like, yeah, I'll grab this one, and yeah, work like a charm, no ads. Very nice.
I just use RetroArch.
Good way
it's
to
got
spend
that nice little bundle of emulators that you know will work, unlike a lot that just crash. But anyway, with that being said, let's move on to our first major topic. So, been a lot of buzz about an indie horror game recently called Horses. It was a first-person horror game that was set to release on, well, loads of platforms: Steam, Epic, GOG, Humble, itch.io. But, and I might get the timeline wrong, so I do apologise, but from my understanding, this is what the timeline was. So the game's been in development for a while, at least for 2 years. 2 years ago, no, so it might have been longer than that, because I think they submitted it to Steam, the development team submitted it to Steam for the first time 2 years ago in 2023. Steam reviewed the store page, and Steam had some concerns about the game's content. They didn't explicitly state what it was initially, and I don't think they specifically pointed to something in particular at any point. They said, we've got some concerns about the game's content just going off of the store page. Can we have a build of your game so that our internal team can play it and verify it? So they sent off the build, and the concerns were apparently founded in that build, so they said, we're not going to ship the game. 2 years later, we're coming to November 2025, and the development team reached back out to Steam, asked for an appeal after the game's kind of progressed a bit more in development, and the development team had a suspicion. I realise I'm going into the description actually, and I've not actually told the viewers what the game's about, so I'm going to pause that discussion and I'm going to tell them what the game's about. So Horses is a horror game. You play as a young man that's going to work at a farm. You arrive there, and I have played the game, by the way, so I've gone through it from beginning to end. You arrive at a farm, you are introduced to the farmer. You're basically working as a farmhand for 2 weeks, and you quickly realise that he owns these horses, but when you find the horses, you find out that they're actually brainwashed humans that are naked in the field with horse masks on, basically. And it's just like, he's just this sick farmer that's putting humans to work as slaves. And it gets more and more disturbing as the game goes on. A lot of its horror is quite shock value, in my opinion. And yeah, well, I'll go more into my personal thoughts on the game later on, but that's kind of the TLDR. You work as a farmhand, you work at a farm, and this farm has, the farmer that owns the farm has horses, horses that are actually people wearing horse masks, and they've been brainwashed. So game developer, going back to the initial discussion, game developer recontacts Steam, says games developed come along further. Can we have an appeal on this? Steam apparently had some internal conversations. I'm going to read actually a quote that was provided to, I think it was PC Gamer from Steam in full, just to give you an idea of what their thought process was. They said, and I quote, "We reviewed the game back in 2023. At that time, the developers had indicated with their release date in Steamworks that they plan to release a few months later. Based on content in the store page, we told the developer we would need to review the build itself. This happens sometimes if content on the store page causes concern that the game itself might not fall within our guidelines. After our team played through the build and reviewed the content, we gave the developer feedback about why we couldn't ship the game on Steam, consistent with our onboarding rules and guidelines. A short while later, the developer asked us to reconsider the review, and our internal content review team discussed that extensively and communicated to the developer our final decision that we were not going to ship the game on Steam." End quote. So Steam rejects the game twice, basically. It's then set to release instead on Epic Game Store, Humble Bundle, Itch.io, and GOG. But then, this is where my timeline might get a bit patchy. I think 24 hours before the game was due to release, Epic decided to remove the game from their storefront and they refused to ship it. And then I think 24 hours after the game released, Humble Bundle pulled the game from their site. But I got contacted yesterday or 2 days ago and got shown that actually the page has been reinstated. So Humble have reversed their decision about banning the game. And obviously, going off of that, that's the only public statement that Valve have given. Valve don't really point to a moment or a thing in the game that says this is what violated our guidance. They just said the game didn't match their onboarding rules and guidelines. The developer made a statement that they made an assumption that they assumed that the reason that Steam might have rejected the game was because there's a scene in the game. And having played the game, I know which scene they're talking about. There's a scene in the game where you welcome a couple of guests onto the farm who are looking to buy some of the human horses. And apparently in the older version of the game, it's a father and daughter that come on. It's like a child daughter. And in the scene, the daughter would go onto the shoulders of one of these human naked horses and would ride around the field on the human horse. Wasn't anything sexual, as the developer said, but they looked at that and thought, yeah, this actually isn't necessary. So they made a creative decision. They acknowledged it was both a creative decision because they, on recollection, thought this scene actually doesn't work that well because the whole context of the scene in the version I've played, they swap it out for a husband and wife, I think. And the whole conversation that happens there is you as the farmhand are talking to the wife about like a sociological position in society, about where the farm kind of stands in the wider territory. And it's this conversation about like humans' position to animals and stuff like that. And yeah, I can't really see why that would work well with a young girl. And yeah, it just worked better. So I don't know why they even had that initial scene in place if it was, one, going to cause them so much bother, and two, creatively and story-wise, it just didn't make any sense. Has there been anything? Because there was a lot I've had to whittle through there. Nope, I think that's everything. I think I've covered on all the key points. So currently, the game is only available on GOG, Humble, and Itch.io. GOG have kind of done a bit of a promotion drive for the game. They've been tweeting out on X about how they think the game deserves to be released, that it deserves to be the consumers that make that decision about what they should and shouldn't play.
Irony.
Yeah, and we'll get into that because that's our comment comeback, actually. We'll pause that, hold that thought for just a moment. So, yeah, that's where we're at the moment. Steam still have refused to ship it. Epic have still refused to ship it. Game's come out. It's actually got quite a good reception from what I've seen. It's got 4.5 stars on GOG. The reviews that I've read from like IGN, Polygon, they're all positive about it. I think it's got a 77 on Metacritic at the moment. I played it. Ratchet, have you played it? Because I know you've got a copy of the game. I'm not sure if you've had a chance to play it.
No, the copy I had was mainly for dissection more than playing it, because I wanted to see what was in it.
Fair.
I haven't had any free time.
Yeah, that's fair. Oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah, Horses is a game I've played this week as well as those other ones that I mentioned before. So from my experience, it's not a game I enjoyed playing, and I think if you speak to anyone that's played this game and they say, "Oh yeah, I enjoyed it," I would really question them. It's a bit like a Spec Ops The Line sort of scenario where that game was obviously very fixated on the tragedy of war, and it's not really a game you should have fun playing through. That was kind of the same thing I felt.
You can enjoy the experience, though.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Yeah, you can enjoy.
There is a difference between, I guess, enjoying the content and then enjoying the experience it gives you.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right. Yeah, I think that maybe sums up Horses a bit better. I didn't enjoy the content, but I did enjoy the experience of it. Because it does. One thing I admire what it does is you do not know where it's going next. It is just so batshit and off the walls. Like, I don't want to spoil it too much in case people are wanting to go out and play, but like, there are some scenes that just paint the farmer in such a negative light, and that I think that's also an important thing to mention. A lot of the really awful scenes, like there's full-on like castration scenes that happen, where basically the farmer, for reasons that get explained later in the game, bans the human horses having sex with each other, and if he runs a 3-strike system, so if they get 3 strikes, he castrates them. And on one occasion, he makes you, the player, do it, which is like, oh, and you as the player, it's shown you really don't want to do it, but you're just having to go ahead with it because you need to gain the farmer's trust, to be able to help the horses, basically. But yeah, I wouldn't play it again. I'm happy I have played it because it was a roller coaster of a game. It isn't very long. It's only about 3 hours long. I would say, though, that there is a content warning on the game. If you have a look at that before you buy it, and if there is anything in there that you're like, oh no, that sounds really disturbing, kind of part of the point of the game is it is meant to disturb you a little bit. You're not really meant to be on board with everything that your character or the other characters are doing in the game, and it makes that quite clear from the offset. But yeah, I think if you've got a good stomach, I'd say go ahead and try it. It is definitely a unique experience. It's something I will remember for a good long while. But that's the precipice. I'm going to open up to the rest of the floor. Why, particularly with Epic, is something that kind of actually Epic and Steam kind of interest me. Epic interests me because they pulled the game at a very, very short notice before release. It was either 24 hours or 48 hours before it was due to go live. And then Steam, obviously there's been conversations, and I can at least understand in part where it's coming from. I mentioned it on X, where I can see why some storefronts might not want this game. It does push a lot of boundaries for sure, and yeah, I can see where the argument can be made of, yeah, we don't want this game, particularly with Epic. But with Steam, I'm a little bit more questionable, because I mean, you go on Steam and there's games like Sex with Hitler, and there's a lot more just games that are so trying to just be offensive on Steam that I'm just thinking, right, so you've taken this one away, which I would argue has more artistic merit to it than something like those crappy side-scrolling puzzle games. Why have you decided to go after this one in particular? So I'm kind of keen to hear your thoughts both about the situation as a whole, but also in particular why you think Steam and Epic might have made the decisions that they made and when they did make those decisions. And even Humble, why might Humble have rejected the game and then reversed it?
I think after watching the trailer from 2 years ago, seeing that they've released multiple games on Steam since then, and seeing what they're doing now, I have kind of 2 to 3 thoughts on this. First one is, those characters look significantly younger in the IGN trailer from 2 years ago. Significantly. And they're hairless, which is really fucking weird. So I think the reason that Steam banned it...
Just a side note, that's kind of what got me when I sent my picture through to you, and you were like, that looks like a 14, 15-year-old. I'm like, it's got hair. It's got a hairy-ass chest.
I had a hairy-ass chest at 15 years old.
Oh, it must be nice for some.
Yeah. Not really. There's a lot of teenage bullying that goes into that, but...
It's called a hairy gorilla.
Yeah. Essentially, like, point being, yeah, I think I don't know how it took them 2 years to do it, but I think what they've done is made the characters look more adult. And I think the version that Steam rejected was the version I've seen the trailer for that IGN has up on their YouTube channel, where the characters do look underage, which is why I think Steam was like, no. And then now the developers have come back and they're like, yeah, but we fixed all that. And Steam's like, doesn't fucking matter. Still no. We understand the origins of this. We're not touching it. Do not put this on our storefront. Because it's not like Steam banned them. They have other games on there from 2023 as well. The other thing that's weird to me is, why wait 2 years? That's really odd.
Well, admittedly, because I've just pulled the announcement trailer, because when you mentioned it, I hadn't actually seen the original announcement trailer, and I see what you mean. The bodies. Well, the thing is, the bodies are much lower res in that trailer. They're a lot more awful in quality. So I think, and plus as well, I mean, I'm looking at some of them. Some of them have tattoos on as well.
Yeah, it's a mix.
Yeah. So it's like, I don't know, it might have been that is just a really early build and they didn't go through and flesh out. I mean, even technologically, the game at the moment is a bit of a mess. Like, I fell through the map once. Ship. Yeah, visually it looks awful. Like, the graphic department is not where any of the, well, much, not any, I've seen worse games, but not much of the work went into making the game look the finest. And I'd even argue partly that's why they've put a bit of a film reel black and white filter over the top to try and mask some of the more awfuler looking parts of the game up. I know that there's obviously, for the people that have played through the game, I know that they tie that in near the end, but yeah, whatever. That might... tomato. But yeah, sorry, go ahead, Ratchet.
Yeah, I think that's what originally the case was, and I think the reason that Epic banned it is because Epic were just like, we don't really care, it's up on there, and then someone from Epic contacted someone from Valve, or vice versa, and they told them the full story that developers not telling us, and Epic were like, oh, yeah, no, given what Valve has told us, no. Because I think people think... I mean, I don't know if this is the case, but no, people think Epic and Valve are competitors when realistically there's people who work at Epic who have worked at Valve and who work at Valve who worked at Epic. I just bumped my mic. But yeah, I think what's happened is there's been internal communications and Epic has realised the extent of what the original version from 2023 was meant to be, and they're also uncomfortable with putting that on their platform. And... given that, I'm not going to, but I would really love to talk about GOG and their inconsistencies with publishing material that is found to be...
Sorry, can I hold you off on that? Because the comment comeback...
Yes, yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. I'm not talking on that. I'm just saying... As a TLDR, as a quick overview, yes, if we're going to talk about Steam being hypocritical about what content they're pushing out, then we need to talk about GOG as well. But, yeah, I think, to kind of wrap up my point, I think Steam were uncomfortable with a version that no longer exists. I think 2 years is weird to me. It raises red flags of, like, they had this game on their Git or on whatever they were hosting it on, sitting in the background, and someone on their team went, why don't we... let's see if we can put this back on Steam. And when Steam said no, then they realized there was an opportunity for essentially free marketing there. Because if you look at no one would have heard of this game, essentially. What I'm trying to say is no one would have heard of this game if not for the uproar against Steam censoring it.
I think it would have found an audience, but I definitely agree. It's been amplified massively because of what's been happening.
Yeah, it's like most games on any platform. They're going to find an audience naturally and through people posting about it, you know, like you show it to your friends, they show it to their friends, it kind of just gets circulated around. But it wouldn't have received this level of,
just before we dart over to SVD's views, I do just want to flag something that I'd be surprised if it, not necessarily disagreement, but I've got a doubt on a circumstance you mentioned there. You mentioned about internal comms potentially between Epic and Valve. When I was flagging up on X about Zonatron Productions being on the Epic Game Store, I remember Tim Sweeney, I'm not going to get it word for word correct, but one of his responses to me about that was basically he doesn't care why Steam removes games because Steam also pull down NFT games, and he sees a lot of Steam bans that they put in place as being unjustified, which is fair. But then it also to me shows, well, I know that obviously Tim Sweeney isn't overseeing everything on the Epic Game Store, he's not having every single say, but if his kind of general overview is Epic shouldn't really be informed or shouldn't take a following to Steam's rationale of banning the game, banning a game, would that really be a line of communication that's explored?
I think so in this case, yes. In a case where it's something that people are flagging as being banned from Steam for some mysterious reason that the developers will only say so much about.
So do you think...
You gotta remember how many people...
Sorry, I was going to say, do you think that then maybe because the game was on Epic, because the game was banned from Steam, users maybe flagged the game on Epic, it then triggered Epic to at least look into it, and then at the short notice they were like, oh no, actually, we don't want this.
Yeah, I think what happened, is users reported it or somebody, because Epic is a huge company. Look up how many people work for Epic. I think it's over 1,000 at this point. Somebody from Epic would have been on Twitter and seen the post at least, and then contacted Valve is what I think would have happened. Because if I owned a game publishing platform and I saw another platform ban a game and that game was sitting on my platform days from release, I would also open a line of communication to the other company and go, hey, we are concerned about this game. Why did you ban it? Can you tell us why you banned it? Because if it's something that goes against our principles as this platform, then we'll ban it as well. Because then if it's like, if the original version had much younger characters in it, it's like, oh yeah, it's got children in it. It's like, oh yeah, then forget it. This game is not. It doesn't matter if it doesn't have children in it anymore. We do not stand with this game. Do not put children in like slave labor positions in your game. Like, don't put them in that specific, very weird art house style. I mean, I'm trying to think about what they think about it, right? I don't care.
Yeah.
Art is, it's weird. It's a very weird thing.
I do find when I read Valve's response that they gave to PC Gamer quite interesting, because oftentimes we've seen it when we've been dealing with, like on the odd occasion that there's a higher profile person that we contend with and then they get removed, and then Valve kind of go to the press and they basically regurgitate some of the stuff that we already kind of figured out, like with Active Shooter, for example. But then
I was going to bring that up.
Oh yeah, I'm not. That's as far as I'm bringing it up. So please feel free to go into it more detail in just a sec. But in terms of this game, Valve were strangely quite vague on it. Obviously citing their guidelines, their content rules, but then not really saying what in the game kind of violate the content rules, and the developers kind of alleging that their direct communication with Valve was like that as well. And then in terms of the developer response, the whole context about the child being present, obviously just for further context, that wasn't in a slave labour capacity of the child was being used in that regard, what the developer mentioned, but it was that a child was attending the farm and was going out to ride one of the slave laboured horses, just for a gallop around the fields, basically. But that narrative wouldn't be out in the public if the developer didn't offer that up themselves, which I feel from a PR perspective, if there was a concern of minors being in your game and were being misused in an inappropriate way, and Valve were happy to give quite vague statements to the press about it still, I'm not sure why, if you were potentially guilty, that you would then offer that argument out to the public. It might be just a form of thinking that I just can't get my head around, but I feel like if that was the problem, and Valve haven't said it, but the developer has said, I think it might have been this, I don't imagine that it would be something that bad, because I imagine if it was some, like, a content type like that, then it would be like, oh no, red flags obviously need to go up when it comes to that sort of stuff. Me and Ratchet have taken the floor a lot for this, so SVD, I'm happy to hand over to you.
All this is reminding me, is of Active Shooter and Rape Day. Both were controversial games, and both. Although I will say that unlike in this case, those games seem to be controversial for the sake of it, for marketing.
I agree.
Whereas this, they did actually intend it to be a an artsy thing, but maybe not had the foresight, or maybe not like fully considered um like the possibility of like rejection. And once that was said, right, they're like, they seemingly put it on the shelf, did other games, and then we're like, oh yeah, we've got this thing. Tried to apply it again, and Valve turned them down. Noticed that there was, especially again the past few years, especially with the Visa Mastercard thing, talks of censorship. If you're someone that's in marketing, or you've got a marketing prowess, it would make sense that you would try to take advantage of that and go, Valve didn't accept our game, and Epic wouldn't accept our game, but GOG did. It is interesting that they decided to go with the marketing approach to it. At least, and I'll repeat myself. At least in this case, this seemed to be like an artsy thing from the get-go. It's not like they're like, let's make something that has those controversial elements in it, for for shock factor. All right, which that was the same thing with Rape Day and Active Shooter. I mean, especially in Active Shooters, actually, no, especially in both. Rape Day, they're like, oh, it's gonna have all this stuff in it, if I remember correctly, each news post that they put out about what else it was gonna have in it, they seemed to, I think, try to one up their previous post. It'd be like, oh, we're gonna have you kicking puppies, we're gonna have you chainsawing, an infant, like, just constantly one-upping, right? Whereas Active Shooter, I mean, that it was very much up Berdiev's tongue-in-cheek, look how edgy I am. But oh no, I'm gonna have you play as not, you don't have to just play the Active Shooter. I'll have you play as SWAT, which, if I remember correctly, what is it? Is it Ready or Not that has some of those scenarios, Ratchet?
Some of what scenarios? Sorry, I was looking for a comment I made.
Like dealing with like an active school shooter.
Yeah,
like
it's a university or
a
college. There's a shooting at a college, which people freaked out about, and they came out and people forgot about instantly.
Which, in a sense, it's kind of interesting, because Berdiev would be like, why did they get allowed and my stuff wasn't?
Because their game was good. Also, another one, No Mercy, which came out last year, and it was such a big backlash that I saw content creators that don't talk about games on TikTok talk about it, which was wild.
Yeah, there was you mentioned an interesting theory there, SVD, and I'd never even actually considered it. Is that maybe it got to the point where when Steam rejected the game back in 2023, they might very well have just thought, okay, let's put a pause on the project for now. We'll reevaluate. Because obviously, I imagine that if you get refused on Steam, we talked about this a few episodes ago in terms of the monopoly it holds, but if you get refused on Steam, that's a massive hit for you and your game, because you're immediately limiting the audience that will just naturally gravitate its eyes towards it.
Not only that, but they didn't immediately go into the Steam censoring us thing back then.
No,
right?
well, yeah. Sorry,
they seem to do that this time around rather than last time around.
Well, even then, they've lent into it, but not as much as, say, the Aftermath Z developer had that we discussed a couple episodes ago. They obviously, the Horses developer went to the press when they felt like they weren't really getting anywhere with Steam, and they were annoyed that the game hadn't been published after they'd seemingly made changes specifically what they had assumed that Steam had issue with. Because again, according to the developer, Steam did not specifically cite the part of the game or the things in the game that got the game rejected. The developer implies that they were basically having to do guesswork and made some assumptions on what kind of content is in there. So it might have been that maybe something like what you said, Ratchet, in terms of the horses had no body hair, it made them look quite young. Maybe Steam saw that as it was slave labour of minors, so they updated the models and made them look older. And then the scene that they mentioned that had the young girl in, they just removed the young girl entirely and then replaced it with the husband's wife. There's a lot of theories just swirling around on the internet about it. And I know that some people are throwing doubt on the developer's theory. Not the developer's theory, the developer's statement of Steam didn't give an explicit reason. Some people are wondering, is that true? Is that not? I'm keen to hear your thoughts about it, but I still think that there's a chance that might have happened purely just because it's in light of. Yeah, I can't talk about it. It's in light of a BMC studio got reapplied back onto Steam recently, and his ban from Steam, so his entire developer account was basically just blocked, like 2019, I think it was, because of content in Cumulator 3. But likewise, and I did see the receipts of it, Steam did not actually say to him, this is specifically the thing that is wrong with your game. They just said it violates our content rules. I played through it and I made an assumption, maybe a bit similar to what the developer did. I said, hey, there's this one joke in here that is pretty damn sexist, that maybe, and it's quite early into the game. You basically hit play and it's the first thing you interact with. Which I'm like, maybe Steam, and plus I think it was on the back end of Active Shooter and Rape Day, and Steam were kind of maybe thinking, we don't want another big controversy. We just need to ride the waves out a little bit with this. We don't need this being a big continuous problem. But I'm keen to know what you guys think. Do you think the developers being 100% transparent in terms of what they've been sharing?
I think it's a mix, because the one thing that gets me is that when Valve put their statement out, they said, if I remember correctly, that they reapplied and Valve talked about it internally.
Correct, yes.
And that is the key part to me, is they talked about it internally. There was more than one person on it, and it wasn't the support staff anymore. It was Valve themselves. It was people inside of Valve saying, should we allow this game on our platform?
Yeah, I might see if I can get
at the top of the mountain.
Yeah. I might see if I can find the name of the... You can continue talking, but I might try and see if I can find the name of the Steam representative that gave that quote, because I am curious now.
Yep. Because what I think is the case is that they did give a full description. They said exactly what their issues were with it, which is why I think the developers went away and fixed those problems. And then they came back and they said, hey, we removed all the stuff you told us to remove. Can we come back? Can we put the game on now? And Steam just said outright no. Like, those things are big enough that we're concerned with the entire game. And I think it's a case of, like, we don't want to play... This is me speaking, right? I don't know what Valve's thought processes are. My thought process would be, we played the first 20 minutes of the game, we saw the stuff you linked as the trailer and all that. We don't like what we're seeing, and I don't think you changing up the characters' ages or whatever the problem was will fix it long term. We're just not comfortable with publishing the game in any form. So, sorry, but no. So, that's, in my mind, the way I would do it is I would send them a list of problems. We know what Valve are like. There's some cases where Valve are just like, no, you violated some guidelines, and you're like, cool, what guidelines, so I can not violate them again? And Steam are just like, you violate guidelines. And it's like, thank you, that's very helpful for me in my future games development. I mean...
I do know, admittedly, the times I have seen when they've released statements like that is when they think the developer is malicious in intent.
Yeah.
I don't want to try and lump this developer in like that, but I'm just saying the only times I have seen them give quite a generalized, nondescript one is kind of like, we don't need to spell out because you know exactly what you're doing, sort of thing.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say as well. Is like, as somebody who's released multiple games on Steam, including helping work on one talking about the LGBT plus community and politics in Australia. That didn't get flagged at all. Nothing I've worked on has ever been flagged for inappropriate content, even with some politically revealing content. So yeah, it seems like pretty extreme cases, especially with the stuff you pointed out, like, was it Hub Sex with Hitler or whatever it's called? Date Hitler?
Yeah.
Date Hitler, which results in having sex with Hitler Simulator.
Yeah.
All that kind of shit. The fact that that stuff can be put on Steam and Valve don't care about it shows that, like, in my mind, there's red flags everywhere. It's like playing a game of Minesweeper. There's just something's not right here, and I don't know if it's Steam or if it's the developer, but seeing Steam's history and not seeing the developer's history outside of them publishing games after Horses on Steam, sus. Very sus.
SVD, what are your thoughts?
It's hard to say because because as a developer you don't want to admit fault means that you might completely turn some people away. And it's like, it was your fault for not doing this and that, which is why developers, at least some of them, I think, try to edge the bounds by it's kind of their fault, but kind of not. I do agree with your assessment that it does feel like Valve will put out a statement if they feel that the developer is going to try to spread misinformation about it, and that it might potentially boil into like a press issue, which is why they did that with essentially active shooter and rape day, right? That was the one thing that they put out. We will not ship rape day as a title, right?
Yeah, they specifically name dropped the game as well, so it's like we are being very specific with this.
Which that was them like making a statement, putting their foot down. They didn't go into why. At least I don't remember if they did.
They did for both active shooter and rape day. I'm pretty sure. I can't remember what the reason was, but I'm pretty sure it did give a reason, because I think I remember I wrote an article kind of attacking their rape day statement, because I just thought it just fed into the hands of the wrong people, because it came shortly after they put this statement out about everything should be allowed on Steam, and I'm like, that's a very broad sheet that you're casting, and then suddenly you're removing that in some selected
We're gonna do
instances.
a land without rules. There are rules. Wait,
there
what?
are rules, yeah, basically, yeah.
So I feel like that's accurate. And I do think that most developers are going to try to say whatever they can to save face. And I think especially in this case with Horses, to admit that they didn't do anything with it for 2 years, and then only recently made the adjustments and were still rejected, it still feels like, what else aren't you telling, or why did it take that long? Why not fix it immediately afterwards?
Well, I don't think it's necessarily a case that they waited specifically 2 years, because obviously it's 2 years between when the first review was done and then they released. Obviously, I think they would need to have done the change, because I mean, the opening credits in the game, it's a much bigger team than I thought it was. I think it's a team of like 30-40 people that worked on the game.
Another thought occurs to me though, real quick. A lot of times too, with like some of the previous instances of certain games being banned on Steam or being censored on Steam due to nudity or adult stuff in there, the one common tactic, especially that a lot of like Chinese or Japanese games did, was they would release the game censored on Steam, but then have a patch that you could install like either off-site or something like that to essentially uncensor it. And that might be another thing too, where if Valve thinks that you've just swapped out a model that can be swapped back in, there might be concern, especially with an artsy melancholy, I'm trying to think of a good name, controversial, themes, right? Such as horses. Um, they may still feel uncomfortable with the game, and that would be why they might deny it a second time.
Ratchet, did you have something to add to that?
No, I just mumbled out Honey Pop when SVD mentioned games that had NSFW patches. Because Honey Pop was like one of the first not safe for work games on Steam, and Steam was against porn games. And then Honey Pop was like, titties? And Steam was like, no, absolutely not. And then they're like, we have a patch on our website that adds exactly what you're looking for. And Steam was like, don't like that. And then somebody was like, hey, I think somebody at Valve or something was like, hey, why don't we just put porn games on Steam? And Steam was like, and everyone was like, yeah, okay. And then Honey Pop was like, alright, we're going to make the titties patch official. And Valve was still just like, or Steam was still just like, maybe not, maybe. It's really weird, because even after the adult patch, like, Honey Pop, you still have to download the patch for it. Like, Steam just has it out for them.
Yeah,
it's one of those weird cases.
I totally forgot about that had happened, and that was a really, really strange case, because these games had been allowed on Steam for ages, and then suddenly a lot of them got an email sent through and said, you need to make these changes in 2 months' time, or your game will be removed from Steam. And yeah, I remember that caused loads of uproar from developers and players, because it's like, it's unfair for you to say that you will allow this game to come on, and then you're suddenly saying these changes need to happen. That can just kill your business model. And then obviously players weren't too happy because, their games are getting taken away. I'm pleased you mentioned that, because I'd totally forgotten about that instance.
There was another case too, remember?
Oh yes, I was going to say I am conscious about time, but before we move on to the common comeback, is there anything that you both want to discuss in a broader context before we now in on GOG?
I just want to TLDR the last one, which is, remember that was I think it was what do they call it? What's the genre that Steam didn't think was popular that absolutely boomed on Steam?
Visual novels.
Yeah, there was an adult visual novel and it got rejected by one certain Steam moderator, and they had to basically go over that person's head to get the game released on Steam, because they were on a weird power trip of Steam shouldn't be for porn games. Does anyone else remember that?
Yeah, and it wasn't just that case. There was a few cases before, and I think we talked about this a few episodes back, with the zombie game thing, that was initially rejected before it got accepted. Where it seemed like that the Steam person that rejected that, because
Aftermath Z Rebirth.
Yeah, that one. The same issue was with Badass Babes. That was another one. There was another one apart from that. And if I had to guess, I feel like it's from the same Steam person, based off of the attitude and the way the responses to why they were rejected, which feels it feels more like a personal choice than it is I'm adhering to policies choice.
I'm not too sure, because obviously with what Ratchet's saying, that was back in 2013, when it was kind of when visual novels kind of came in because of Steam Greenlight, and that's kind of something positive that Valve attributed to Steam Greenlight, where it was showing that they are actually visual novels.
It's likely a different person then, but it's the same issue, right? If one person,
same issue.
Yeah, where it goes against their preferences, ideology, whatever. They may reject it, but still use Steam's kind of vague explanation that they can reject things that they don't feel comfortable with to essentially cover that. Why did you ban this game about petting dogs? I'm a cat lover, and I find dogs offensive. Like, what?
I am going to move us on to the comment comeback because I'm conscious we're working against the clock now. So this is a comment from, it's actually our first X comment comeback, first comment that we've gotten from X. This is from a user called, Vevjua, I think is how you say it, Vevjua. This was in a response to a thread that I was in discussing about GOG accepting horses. For context, I had made a post basically saying you've accepted this game, but if you look back to, I forget when they didn't allow Devotion on GOG. For just some background, Devotion was a game developed by Red Candle Games. I think we even discussed this game a couple episodes back as well, where it was a horror adventure game, but there was actually Red Candle Games is a Chinese development company, and they had smuggled in, not the company themselves, but like a couple of staff members had secretly included like a little Easter egg in the game, which included a picture or a reference to Winnie the Pooh and referring to the Chinese president Xi Jinping as Winnie the Pooh, which is like a common, I don't know how you describe it. Like, well, it's a meme basically. It's a meme of the president, but the president himself doesn't appreciate it and is quite authoritative in terms of his enforcement and clampdown on that sort of stuff, because obviously China's quite anti-free speech, which got Red Candle Games into bother. GOG got cold feet about hosting the game for that reason, and their relationship with Red Candle Games kind of soured, so GOG actually pulled the game Devotion off of GOG. They cited it was because of player concerns and feedback, but a lot of people were thinking, well, you're kind of just bending the knee a little bit here to China and what China wants, because obviously it's got a massive gaming market there that GOG didn't want to get into bother with for housing a game that had some anti-Chinese government rhetoric included in it.
The irony also being that GOG being CD Projekt Red, their games got review bombed because they banned a Chinese streamer who was caught cheating in Gwent. So like, they bent the knee to the people that did not give a shit.
Mm-hmm. So Vevjul was responding to my tweet about me highlighting the Devotion issue again and comparing it to what's happening with horses in the GOG. With Devotion, we're very against shipping that game, but now with horses, they're trying to make this campaign of, we are proud to house these kinds of games because players should decide what they want to play. Vevjul said, it was 5 years ago. Would you prefer they continue this way, or is the current direction better? For me, the answer is simple. The problem is you can have your cake and eat it too in this regard. It's not like... What's basically Vevjul is saying here is don't bother looking because it was 5 years ago. We should get them on this path now rather than look back to things retrospectively. No, I think it is important to look at instances like that because you need to have consistency with your enforcement. I keep on saying Valve are consistently inconsistent, and I think that's to their detriment at times. Obviously, one-off scenarios need to exist because there are some things that will crop up that you just can't expect. But in a case like Devotion, if GOG are wanting to say, let the players decide what they want to play, we shouldn't be gatekeeping that sort of stuff, then don't gatekeep it. Don't let the game back on. Because that game, Devotion, I can't imagine did terribly well because it got booted off a lot of... it got booted off of GOG, but it got booted off of a lot of major gaming platforms.
I do think it's very funny that they hold themselves up as those the warriors of allowing... I was going to say free speech, but the warriors of allowing a game to exist on platforms.
Freedom of expression, yeah.
Anti-censorship.
Personal. Yeah.
Yeah. Freedom of player choice, apart from that one game, because the Chinese audience got so upset that they deliberately went and threatened us. It's like, well, I get it, but pick a fucking lane. I know it's not as black and white as that. I'm not going to pretend it is, but if you're going to put your foot down, and if you're going to brag about being like the bastions of freedom of expression, then yeah, it's funny. I just love that. I saw the tweet from them on our Discord, and I clicked on it expecting people to be like, yeah, GOG's the greatest. GOG is anti-censorship. Fuck Steam for censoring this game. And all the responses were just people being like, what about devotion? Yeah. I was like, oh, it's beautiful. The world is healing. Everyone is just calling out because GOG is just like, freedom of expression. This content it's meant to be seen. Horses is a game that anyone can play on GOG. And people were just like, hey, what about Devotion? That was a game people were going to be able to play on GOG, right? What happened to that one? Huh? It's like, I love the community sometimes.
Had they brought Devotion back after that backlash, we would not be seeing these responses here, at least not as many. Because it would show that GOG, thought about it and was like, yeah, we initially promised that we'd bring it back and they brought it back. I have yet to see any platform take down a game because quote unquote gamers demanded it be taken down.
It's very funny.
What?
I was gonna say, it's very funny because usually gamers keep things up. Do not take things down. Do not censor things. But
yeah.
I was just going to say, you're right. What they should have done is they should have re-added Devotion, worked with the Devotion developers, and then created a bundle called the Offensive Games Bundle and just put Horses and Devotion in it and sold it for like $50.
Yeah, because here's the thing. If Horses was banned because it had a meme of Gigi Peng and Winnie the Pooh, you're damn right it would not be on GOG. They would have been, they would have come up with a reason. They would have been like, due to concerns about this. It's like, no, you would have accepted it had it not been, you don't want to piss off the Chinese audience. That's what that comes down to.
Do we have anything else that we want to throw on the comment comeback, or are we happy moving on to our next couple of topics?
I'm happy to move on.
I'm also happy to move on because this is a minefield that we're about to run full pelt into.
Okay, thank you, Vevjua, for the comment. If anyone else wants to potentially have a comment highlighted on our comment comeback section, feel free to engage with us on any social media platform, whether that be Steam, X, Discord, Blue Sky. I think that's all the ones we're active on. Any of those sites, feel free to just respond or throw something in, tag us and ask if you want it to be highlighted, or we might just pick one week by week.
I'm sure, given what Mellow just said, I'm sure if you pay enough money on the Patreon, he can come back at your comment.
If they want me to, I'm more than happy to.
Couple of $100.
I don't go for that much. I've not got that high standards.
So you're underselling. You're underselling a very specific.
I'd do it for $2 a month. If they up their tier from the $1 to the $2, I will.
Those standards
moving
are
on.
low.
Moving on. So we are having a bit of a broad discussion about a couple of AI generated content in video games that's happened this week. So there was recently, courtesy of Running with Scissors, a new Postal game announced. Remind me what the name was, because I'm fleeting through my notes and I didn't actually note the name of the game down.
It was Postal Survivors.
It was not Postal Survivors.
It was called Bullet Paradise.
Postal Bullet Paradise, thank you. There was a new game announced, Postal Bullet Paradise. Running with Scissors were publishing the game. It was outsourced to a different development company, because we know that whenever that happens with the Postal franchise, great things happen. But basically what happened is,
Brain Damage. Postal Brain Damage was developed by another team. Yep.
Oh, was
that's
it?
their
I
boomer
did not
shooter.
know that.
Yep. Postal-Royale was made by their in-house team. That's all you need to know about Postal these days.
So yeah, they announced this game, they drop a trailer, it gets a Steam page to market it as well, but it quickly gets shat on, basically, because Running with Scissors across their social media channels are shown to be very anti-AI. They call developers out for advocating for AI use in video games, or in the case that we'll talk about later, they've been very anti people that are trying to remove AI content disclosures. So that they've kind of got this public image of, we're very anti-AI. We value human creativity. We don't want AI to get in the way of that. But when the game store page launched, people noted that there was a number of AI-generated assets present in both the promo material and in the game itself of what was shown, which got people really, really riled up, because they're basically saying, hey, you are very anti-AI, but yet here's a game, while you've not developed it, you're publishing it, you're putting your name to it, and it's very clearly there's some AI assets in here. And I don't want to say if they were disclosed or not. I'm not sure. I'm assuming by the fact that people had to go to the page and look at the trailers and the screenshots and point to them, might implies to me that maybe it also wasn't appropriately disclosed on the store page either.
They weren't.
They weren't.
Running with Scissors didn't even know they were AI. Because you should see their Discord. They were calling people all sorts of names. They were check fucking Twitter for it. They were calling people out for saying that the logo was AI.
I think they must have deleted those tweets, because I looked earlier today for the note, and the only one that was their clarification tweet that says that they've done a lot of the behind the scenes work. They've cancelled the game. That's the other thing. So they've cancelled the game in light of the AI content being disclosed.
Was it 48 hours?
I don't even think it was that, I think it was less. I think it was less time. It might have been 36 hours or something like that.
I would have loved to have been in was a fly on the wall to hear the calls. Cancel it now. Yeah. We need to save the brand. What little we have left.
Yeah. They put up, not really I guess I can't remember if they explicitly apologised, but they put up a clarification statement basically saying it was a developer partner. They had no idea that AI content was used in the game. They re-clarified we are very anti-AI, so they were basically going to an extreme extent of just saying, right, we're going to cancel the game to try and regain some of that trust back, basically. Before we go into a conversation about that, I'll introduce the second part of that topic, because we're going to talk about, obviously, AI, the AI stories in one to try and save a bit of time. Tim Sweeney, Epic Games' CEO, got a lot of attention on X recently. I partly get why, partly don't, because he wasn't the one that made the argument. He was just the one that was throwing his 2 cents into it and basically just agreed with somebody else about it. But basically, Tim Sweeney was on X and he was arguing that stores like Steam, but obviously Steam was the main one that he highlighted, stores like Steam should stop marking games as made with AI. They should get rid of the AI content disclosures on Steam, which he argued was because AI will become so ubiquitous that the label loses its meaning ultimately. People quickly descended on him and argued against him, saying that it's good for transparency, it's good to know how and when AI is getting used, particularly when it's in its early days, about how it's getting incorporated into video games. There are obviously people that are very against AI use in games, for varying degrees. Some people are just, no, don't want it at all. Some people are like, well, it depends on how it's used. There's a lot of stuff to go over there, but yeah, basically it opened up a massive can of worms on social media and a lot of people were talking about it. So in light of both of those topics, I'm happy to kind of start with Tim Sweeney's post, because I think that's kind of a bit more of a groundwork so we can then build upon to talk more about the Postal case specifically. Does removing, and we might, again, this might be retreading on some old ground that we had a few weeks ago, does removing AI disclosure labels hurt consumers more? Is there something lost with losing that disclaimer?
I think so. I think part of it comes down to the fact that people will very quickly see they'll very quickly see that it's made with AI because AI art is visible.
There's no flow to it. There's no natural flow to it, I should say. Because
it stands out.
Yeah, when you create something as a human, it would be like, for instance, if let's say you were creating a map, right, and you were gonna create like a secondary level, with a window, and an AI, it feels like, would just make a secondary level and put maybe some boxes that might look like stairs, but you wouldn't be able to reasonably jump from those boxes onto the second level, kind of a thing, where it makes an attempt to make it seem like there's a way to seamlessly go up into the second level, but there actually isn't, if that makes any sense, right? Where, like, if a human was designing a map, they would actually put thought and detail into what makes sense when designing the map, right? We've got stairs that go up to here. We've got a window over there that actually faces out over like a section of the map. There's thought and purpose that goes into that, whereas with AI, it's just attempting to imitate something without, let's say, reasoning behind it.
Just on the back of that, because I saw a video recently that was basically comparing old AI, when AI was, well, I say AI, when AI was coming around, we've always had AI, but the type of AI that is using generative content, Ratchet, you probably know a bit more of the technical term to use for this, but the likes of ChatGPT, the likes of Grok were coming out 2 to 3 years ago. I saw a video that was basically comparing Will Smith eating spaghetti and how if you were to generate that video 3 years ago versus now. And I totally forgot, like 3 years ago, the images would just morph and mold into each other a lot, and like to a really unnatural degree that you can just tell this is just a tacky video that's been AI slop, basically. But then nowadays, thank you, Ratchet, yeah, large language model and generative AI. Nowadays, it's become a lot more efficient. It's become a lot, I would argue it's progressed a lot more, and it's become a little bit harder to tell. I think if you know what you're looking for, you can still tell. But I'm just curious to know if that's kind of, if you both agree with that. Do you think it's kind of progressed to a level now where it is becoming a little bit harder to tell? And I think also part of what Tim's kind of getting at, I don't agree with him, but I think what he's trying to get at is because AI is advancing, because it's gradually getting more normalized, it's pointless to keep this fight up of we should be transparent with AI and we should be declaring it in a legal capacity because it's ultimately just going to be worthless.
AI has progressed quite far thanks to companies like OpenAI, which I love the name because ChatGPT is not open at all. So it's like calling yourself Open Office and then literally not allowing anyone into the building. It's
I like that.
It's just the same thing. It's just like, hey, we're open. You're like, oh, cool. Can I come in? No, fuck off.
The dollar store in which stuff costs more than $1.
That is the dollar store.
Poundland here.
Yeah,
Poundland here.
yeah.
I know. That's why I brought it up.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, so AI has been trained on more and more shit, which I'm not going to get into all the problems that has. I think we've talked about it before, but I think LLMs are good for science and being trained on the actual data scientists use. It helps them, but I think LLMs, generative AI to create videos and photos of fucking Will Smith eating pasta is the biggest waste of electricity and water and all the resources that it uses, and I think it's ridiculous. But yes, to answer your question, it's getting way better. It's getting far better. Whatever the new the video thing they have is now, Sora or Sona or whatever the hell it's called, Sora 2. I don't remember. I don't pay attention to it. It creates nearly real videos. The only way you know is because there's little bits that don't match. Like there's the wacky wailing, arm flailing, inflatable tube man next to a shop, and it had a truck going past, and my dad showed me the video and was like, "Look at this," and I was like, "That's AI," and he's like, "How do you know it's AI?" And I'm like, "Cause the inflatable tube men need that fan underneath them to keep them up, and that one's got feet. It doesn't have a fan; it has feet." And also the truck in snow, the truck doesn't have any snow on its tires. Like inconsistencies like that are just really weird. So yeah, I think it's getting more real. It's getting dangerous, especially with taking people's voices. That's the one that scares me the most and has scared me since the beginning of AI. I've never been worried about it taking my job as a programmer. It's a fantastic little tool when you need validation on something you're writing programmatically. If you're just like, hey, am I writing this the right way? Or like, hey, I think I understand this concept, but can you link me a few sources and explain the concept to me? And it'll link you like the Microsoft documentation and be like, yeah, here's what it is. And you scan through the docs and you're like, yep, that lines up. You're not lying to me. You're not having hallucinations. I can verify that the information you're giving me is valid. So it's useful for stuff like that. But I also completely disagree with Tim. And to clarify as well, Tim's point was what you said. And it was also, Tim is pro indie developer a little too much sometimes, and this is one of those cases where it's a little too much, because what he said was, and you'll have to find the actual quote for this because I can't remember it word for word, but essentially his point was players will discriminate against developers who use AI versus those who don't use AI, therefore removing the AI warning allows a more equal playing field, which, like I said when I first started yapping, no, because it's very clear to see games that use AI art. Call of Duty used it in Black Ops 7, and look at how that's going for them. I refunded that shit instantly. I played it. It wasn't even because of AI I refunded it, but that's like a little bit of it. Mm-hmm.
But yeah. Funny enough, yeah, sorry, before I get into that, because it might partly segue the point, SVD, you're welcome to chime in on this before I make this extra point.
Yeah, with Tim Sweeney, that is something where he is too pro-developer to the point of where it tends to go overboard, which, like, it makes sense that he's pro-developer considering that, he fucking owns Epic, and, they make the Unreal Engine, and they're trying to be very, like, developer-friendly. But you do need to consider the customer and all of this stuff too, right? And a lot of people try to use different analogies for comparison of why you should keep the label. Some said that it's like ingredient label on food, which is close, but I think because AI is less of it is also about how a product is made. I think the better comparison is to look at how your food is made, or how your livestock is essentially slaughtered, right? Because if you're religious, there's like certain restrictions on that, right? Was it like kosher foods?
Yeah, halal foods and that.
Yeah. Then if depending on, like, what if you're vegan, right? Or you're a vegetarian, stuff can't have meat in there, can't have eggs in there.
I think there was a Valve staff member that posted a similar analogy.
Yeah, his analogy was with food ingredients, and the guy that had started, Matt Workman, was completely dismissive of all of that, which is ridiculous because
he made the case that games aren't food is what his general
it's not as important as food. fine. Um, Still, the point being is that people give a shit in how something is made, because they want to support certain practices,
Yeah, look at
right?
child labour laws as well. Look at child labour in China. I know a lot of people, like even just in my everyday, that boycott a lot of companies in particular, like Temu, for example. They boycott businesses like that because they don't agree with how a lot of their products are manufactured. They don't agree with
Some
the
of the
ethics
stuff
behind it.
some of the stuff that has happened in the past, people have boycotted stuff successfully or pushed for reform successfully because they were not comfortable with how a process was being made. Um, Especially with like in the U.S. history, um, sometime in I want to say 1900s, there was a journalistic kind of scoop on meat packing and
Yes.
once the horrors of that was exposed, that's when I believe I'll have to look it up for verification, but I believe that's around the time that there was an establishment of a USDA, um, essentially the Department of like the U.S. like Department of like Meat Inspection kind of stuff, to make sure that the unhealthiness that was going on at the time in meatpacking plants was put to a stop. Methods in how stuff is made matters to people, whether it's as important as how food is made or as not as important, I guess, as how your media is made. Um, if you hear, if there's a movie that's made with child slaves, like actual child slaves from almost every aspect, from like a production truck,
Mhm.
from like the production team, camera crew, to
Look at
the
the GTA 6
actors.
strikes.
Yeah, and they're whipping them. You're not going to be comfortable in watching that. You wouldn't
No.
want to support that kind of thing. Um, and so, and granted, that's an extreme example, but point being is that the method matters, which is why
Mhm. Well,
having the AI label there matters to people.
yeah, that's why I partly mentioned the GTA 6 strikes that are happening here in the UK, where a lot of like Take Two, I forget, it's either Take Two or Rockstar employees, one of the two, where people on X keep getting them mixed up for some reason. But one of those companies that have had a lot of staff go on strikes because there's been some questionable dismissals from some union employees. Rockstar was saying no, this was a genuine dismissal because they leaked materials into a Discord server. Others are saying no, that these were people that were looking to take legal action against the company for negative practices. And it's got people out on the picket lines now. I think there's employees in the hundreds, which might have partly been why GTA 6 got delayed, actually, because they lost a lot of development time. But it's like you say, it doesn't have to be an extreme example, but stuff like that people do care about. Um, and people care about how people get treated. How you see it a lot with a lot of the discussions with crunch culture in video games and companies that employ those tactics. I know that in some developers' instances, it's like, oh well, it's just normalized. We don't really. Some of them don't care about it because it's just become so normalized to them. But it's like, well, to other people it does though. To the people that are indulged in that sort of culture and they can't get out of it and they don't know how because it's the only thing they traded in. They want to keep their job. So yeah, you're absolutely right in terms of like, I think it also should stay there. I think we had this conversation a couple of weeks ago. We all kind of have differing views on how much AI use is acceptable before we are like, no, that's not really worth my while. But we all agree that it at least matters to us, at least in some principle, of how it gets used. But just on that note as well, to go back to the Postal discussion, do you think that running with scissors needed to cancel the game outright, or do you think that was maybe a bit of an overreaction, or do you think they've intentionally done a quite extreme reaction in an attempt to save as much face as possible with the problem?
If I had to guess, um, I feel like there was internal strife with that, where no one. I feel like you had a mix of opinions, like in the the developers, group and perhaps the public, running with scissors as well. And I feel like because no one maybe could come to a consensus, and they felt that if they let this kind of go on anymore in the public eye, that they were really concerned about losing trust. The idea was to just end it right there and then cancel the project, regroup, rethink, and reassess how to go forward. Um, I feel like that, rather than waste money on either doing something that no one wanted or doing something that some people wanted but it was still a flop, right? It'd be better to not spend the time, money, and resources on something until you're confident that it will actually be something that will make money. And that is just my guess. I'd be interested to know what Ratchet thinks in terms of like developer agreements and whether or not to like cancel a project in order to save everyone's time, effort, and money.
Yeah, I don't think it's worth cancelling. I mean, I don't know the decision that they made at running with scissors.
Could you see that as a reason for canceling? Potentially, a possibility.
Possibly. Because, I mean, I know that I'm not coming at it from a game development perspective, but I'm thinking in terms of, like, my experience of dealing like, with contracts, it could be that running with scissors might have had a term in there about AI use. Because the fact that everything happened so quick, and they'll have had to go through a legal process of termination with this other company that they were partnering with, that to me feels like there must have been a clause that they were capitalising on in that contract to have that happen so quick. And there seems, at least for the time being, there doesn't seem to have been a dispute between the two companies in terms of why the game was cancelled and why Running with Scissors cancelled the contract with that developer. But yeah, feel free to chime in, Ratchet.
If you look at those Discord messages I linked, Mike
I'll throw them up on the screen.
Yeah, Mike is pretty clear that as far as he's aware, AI is not being used, and he's pretty adamant about the fact that there's no AI in this game when there was. So I don't think I think what it was Mike assumed, given the contract probably said do not use AI, like there is no use of AI, no generative AI in the creation of any assets for this game. And they went and did it, which explains why they shut down as well, right? Because they're like, all right, we've delivered your game, now you pay us. And then they're like, yeah, you broke the contract, we're not paying you shit. But we're also not releasing your fucking game. Like, none of this is going through. You've been, they've been, what's it called? They basically have just been called, they've been called out. Yeah, no, I'm trying to think of the right word, right? They've been essentially do not work with this developer, which is why they shut the studio down. I assume, blacklisted, that's the one. I assume they ran out of money as well, but you can see they probably didn't do this right because when you're dealing with contractors, it depends on who you're dealing with and how you work, but you assume for the most part if there's a contract that says do not use Gen AI that they'll follow that, because otherwise they realize they're not going to get the money and they're going to go broke.
Yeah, and that might be why the guy, I forget who it was, but the guy, I've seen the messages, the guy in the Discord server was so adamant because he just thought, well, it's in our contract that they can't use it. So, and he probably had quite a lot of trust in that developer partner, which just got fractured immediately.
Yeah, Mike. Yeah, I don't know if they'll do contracts again. That's something where it's like, yeah, you've had a bad experience. To be fair, hopefully they didn't lose much money over it, if any. I'm not a huge fan of modern Running with Scissors, but to see this happen to them, it's kind of shit. But also, if you go and look at the developers' other games, their weird SCP game, the logo for that SCP game is 100% an AI-generated image. Also, I would like to just take a moment for everyone who's seen the speed drawing thing that the artist tried to upload onto Twitter to show that they hand drew it. I would like to take a minute with everyone who's seen that to just laugh our asses off because it's fantastic. The glasses appear before his head does. it scrubs through a bunch of weird shit that appears in weird orders. Because I'm like, I know artists. I've worked with artists. They would have drawn, given that image where it's Postal guy standing there. It is Postal guy standing there looking in the mirror, looking back at the camera with all the other Postal guy faces in the broken mirror in the bathroom. They would have... it had 500 layers, by the way. What? Yeah, they would have outlined all the faces of all the Postal guys in the mirror. They would have drawn the cracks in the mirror. They would have really outlined everything before they started doing stuff. But they, like, drew everything but the background and then started painting in Postal guy and then started drawing the faces at the back of in the mirror. But they didn't outline the faces in the mirror. They just drew the faces in the mirror as if they knew exactly what they were doing and it was done. And it's like, no normal artist works like that. I've worked with like 20, 30 artists across the past 10 years. And none of them that I've worked directly with work like that. Like, it's a lot of sketching and a lot of, like, hand painting and not, like, physically hand painting, but, like, using a tablet to just draw in layers. I can't include any of the art that our artist did. We had a concept artist on our team full time for 3 months, and she drew some beautiful art, and you could just tell it was her drawing and it wasn't AI generated. We didn't even need an AI contract with her because we knew that she was just like, yeah, I can do that, because she was actually talented and didn't need AI generated bullshit to pretend to have a talent.
Yeah, I can see why they maybe cancelled the full game, because I think their reputation that they've got in that regard is something that they do hold highly, and the fact that it's been fractured in the span of 2 days or something like that, they realise that they are having to scale quite a big mountain to regain that trust. I think, I mean, in my view, they would have recovered with me personally if they'd just outsourced the game to another company. I think shutting the developer off would have been enough, in my opinion. I think they're just wanting to go that extra mile in the hopes that they can get to a regain of trust quicker. But obviously at the expense of a game that's now never going to see the light of day. I am conscious of time, so I'm happy to hand over to you both about any closing thoughts that you've got about that topic or anything that we've talked about today.
I don't have anything in particular to say apart from the fact that I think that this whole rush with AI is, I think, a mistake to rush with it, and I think the end goal to try and replace is a mistake. AI should be used to assist, not replace. I've given this example before at my previous workplace in the accounts payable department, where they receive invoices from vendors for like trucks. Every vendor does their invoice differently and will put the reference numbers in different spots, or they may use our reference number for like a purchase order. They may call it a sales order. They'll call it something else. And the thing is that we had used a new system where we train it to look at particular spots on an invoice for our reference numbers to match it up in our system. And so what it would do is it would scan the bill, look at the company, understand based off of history where the reference numbers that you're looking for, and then of course the cost of the invoice, which help. And granted, it still requires the input of the accounts payable person, but the AI helps their job, and that is what I think the future should be striving towards. Have AI tools assist in something, not replace. Those are my final thoughts.
Nothing to add.
Okay.
Apart from whatever
Lovely.
Mellow makes me say at the end of the episode.
There was something that you did partway through. I forgot what it is, but I'll remember it when I hear it again. I'm like, yeah, that's going in at the end.
Yeah, it was the cum tribute stuff.
The what, sorry?
Huh? You'll have to listen back to find out.
Yeah, I don't have much more to add on beyond what we've already discussed, and I think you summed it up quite well there, SVD, as well. The only thing I can add is, what are your thoughts to you listening? What are your thoughts about the topics that we've discussed today? Have you played Horses? What did you think of Horses if you have played it? Do you think it should have had a place on Steam in the Epic Game Store? Are you happy that it's got a release? Do you think it should have been removed from the all storefronts? Why are you laughing, Ratchet?
I just... What do you think about Horses in general, not specifically the video game? Just tell us your thoughts on horses. I think they're neat. They're like shit cars. I don't know why that sent me. Just the fact that somebody in the comments being like, I don't know what this video game is, but I'm really a big fan of horses. I do like riding. I do like when they do that ballet thing with the horses I can't remember the name of right now. Corsage?
What do you think about Horses, the video game that's been released on GOG in the last couple of weeks?
And I want to know what you think about horses in general.
Matthew wants to know what you think about horses in general. What do you think about AI use in video games? Do you agree with Tim Sweeney's take about Steam should get rid of their AI content disclosure? Have you been following along with the Postal story? Do you agree with Running with His decision to totally cancel the game, and in light of the AI work being discovered in terms of their contracted developer? Just what do you think about everything that we've covered in general? Pop your comments down below. Leave them for us on social media. We might highlight some for a common comeback next week. I will not be here next week. Again, I'm away on holiday. There will be someone else here to cover for me. Who that is, we'll find out next week.
We might instead be doing a mix-up of the genre and leaning into development sides of things.
Ooh, bonus thing. Okay, I'm keen to hear that.
Also, to triple down, to really cover all topics of this episode, I'm going to need you to send me specifically on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it.
Are you speaking to me or the audience?
Both. I'm speaking to you and the audience. Send me bannable AI-generated pictures of horses to cover all the topics of today's episode.
Okay, I'm going to wrap this up before you throw in another fucking horse porn.
Join our group.
Join the group, follow our curator, join our Discord server, check out our other episodes. There's a full playlist in the description below. Thanks goes out to our patrons, Calf, Stefan, Old Navy, Twidget, Luke, Nin, Emigrant, and Pocket. Thank you so much for being patrons to Sentinels of the Store and the podcast as well. If you want to become a patron today, link is in the description down below. There is also a link tree with all of the social medias for me on. There is also a link down below to SVD's Blue Sky if you want to give him a follow down there. And until next time, have a good rest of your week, have a good rest of your day, morning, evening, whatever it is for you, and take care.
I enjoyed Feel Free to Suck My Nuts.